And eventually, it can be provided through utility services. Now, you can see this transition in IT. If you take something like Customer Relationship Management System, CRM, then we've gone from the early list in the 1980s to database marketing systems of the mid-80s to the CRM products of the 90s to the much more utility-like services of Salesforce today. CRM has transitioned from innovation to much more of a utility service. Now, this transition is happening to all business activities, and all of them are moving. Now, why are they moving? Well, if you ask any businessman, they will tell you that business is little more than warfare. It's a catfight. And as soon as one company gains some advantage with some fancy new piece of technology, some fancy new gun, like an e-commerce site, then all its competitors will follow suit. This creates a constant demand for the new thing. But companies are also in competition for the supply of that new thing. And any time a company introduces a new concept, in this case, feline body armor, someone else will make a better version. This creates constant pressure for improvement. And it's the combined pressures which create this constant pressure towards commoditization. So what's happening in IT is a huge group of activities which were once innovations, but more recently have been provided as products with competition based on feature differentiation, have become so widespread and so feature complete that they've moved up this curve and become suitable for service provision through volume operations. Now, this doesn't mean that everything in IT is moving in that direction. There's a wide spectrum of activities in IT, and we're still innovating last time I checked. However, certain IT activities are now suitable for this transition. But concept and suitability aren't enough. You also need the technology to support this. But I could talk about virtualization, but in reality, virtualization has been around since Popek wrote the book in 1974. Yes, it's improved, but in the words of Steve Austin, we have the technology. So concept, technology, suitability, but still that's not enough. You also need a change in business attitude towards IT. And that's been happening ever since people like Nick Carr have written books pointing out that there is little strategic value in much of IT. As IT activities become more ubiquitous, they have diminishing strategic value and become much more of a cost of doing business. So we have concept, suitability, technology, and attitude. And this is what is driving this transition from an as-a-product world to an as-a-service world. It's not something new. It's an expected consequence of forces, and it's been predicted for some time. So why does it matter? Well, this new industry, this as-a-service industry, is relatively new, but of course it is highly disruptive to the product-based industry. But more importantly, if you're a user, then if you look at an activity and you consider it to be an innovation, whereas everybody else, i.e. the market, uses common and well-defined services, the only thing that you are going to create is a competitive disadvantage for yourself. You actually exist in an ecosystem and have constant pressure to keep up with the rest of the market. To explain this analogy, let's go back to the kitten fight. There's no point turning up to the fight with a snazzy rifle if everybody else has brought tanks. All organizations need to continuously evolve. You just can't stick with the old ways. So, at Ubuntu, back in April, we introduced a concept called Ubuntu Enterprise Cloud. This basically introduced a system called Eucalyptus into the distribution, and we enabled our users to build their own clouds, matching the common standard of EC2 API. because we felt that this was a time of transition, and at the very least we wanted our users to be able to experiment with their own clouds based upon open source technology behind the firewall. So I'm going to quickly recap. I started off by asking the question of what is cloud computing? And the answers which I found varied from the sublime to the utterly ridiculous. Turns out that cloud computing is not a new concept. And this old concept describes this transition, transformation of our industry from a product to a much more service-oriented economy. And basically, its time has come. Now, we can't avoid this change any more than Mrs. Muggins could avoid the Industrial Revolution. But before I leave, there's a section I just want to explore, which is, why is there so much confusion over cloud computing? Because the concept itself is really simple. Well, first of all, and these are the reasons I hypothesize there's so much confusion. One, this transition is highly disruptive to people in a product world. So there's an awful lot of rebranding going on to take a product and call it cloudy. Hence the cloud equals our product. A second problem is that really this transition is all about price and quality of service of common components provided through utility services. And of course those common components will accelerate the speed at which you can innovate with new things. But though it will enable you to build new things more quickly, cloud computing itself is nothing more than an evolution, an expected evolution of our industry. Of course, any technology strategist will tell you that innovation is where the money's at. So there's lots of attempts to brand cloud as an innovation in itself. Lastly, as the economy has gone down the toilet, cloud has become hot. So there's been a big shift of people into the cloud computing space. And this all creates noise. We have lots of pointless arguments going on, such as private cloud, whether it's cloud computing or not. Cloud computing, whether it's like electricity, a supermarket, or whatever. A friend of mine recently said to me that there is so much gibberish on cloud, you might as well just call everything kitten. So as a scientist, I thought I'd experiment with this. So this last bit of the talk, pure experimentation, I call it kitten, kitten, kitten. 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 Kitten, kitten. Kitten, kitten, kitten. Kitten, kitten, kitten. Kitten, kitten, kitten. Kitten, 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 kitten. Kitty, kitty, kitten, kitten. Chicken. Kitten, chicken. Chicken. Kitten. Kitten, chicken. Kitten, chicken. Kitten. Kitten, 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 kitten. Kitten, 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 kitten. Kitten, 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 kitten. And it's hyperlocking did-I-mention infrastructure. Alternatively, if you want cloud for human beings, not for kittens, then come and join us at Ubuntu. Thank you very much.